Hello again, Dave.
I'm back. Okay. Did I explain that thoroughly enough for you, how the mock-up process is going?
Oh yeah, the reason why I asked is because you had sent a fax talking about doing dead hand photorealism for the Death of John Marsh sequence. And I posted that along with something from Eddie that explained what was going on with SDOAR. Because people are going, oh, I thought Dave abandoned it. No, Dave's got someone paying. He's working on it. And somebody went, I still don't understand. What exactly is Dave doing? And it's like, okay, I'll ask.
Right. Yeah, that was one of those things. I got a fax from Sean when he got the dead hand photorealism pages going. How's the wrist with all of that drawing? You know, the pages look great. And that's another one of those. Well, I tell you, I've got all of the tracing paper and photocopies and everything buffalo clipped together, and I could explain all of the theories behind dead hand photorealism, because that was a long time evolving, and one of those things that I can only do over maybe a 2 or 3 page stretch, and all of the stuff, if I got it scanned by Rolly and sent to you, would explain, okay, this is the theory that I came up with, and it works pretty good, but it's like, it's still hell on the wrist. It's like explaining all that isn't getting Strange Death of Alex Raymond done. So I've gotten more into the habit of when one of the guys, whether it's Birdsong or Benjamin Hobbs or Sean, asks me a question, I just write too long a subject. I can't do that. It would maybe make a really interesting subject if I ever get Strange Death of Alex Raymond done, and I'll be happy to talk about it then. But no, right now, Grandpa is still running out of steam, and better that he should use his steam to keep mocking up these pages. I'm actually, I've got about, I would guess probably about 100 pages done. The last time that I counted them, there was like 86, I think, and that was weeks ago. So if I'm not at 100 pages, I'm pretty close to at 100 pages. But that introduces another problem where it's like the Strange Death of Alex Raymond audience is an audience in quotation marks, as far as I know right now. Like Jim Rugg is a huge fan of Strange Death of Alex Raymond, work of genius, etc., etc., etc. And I fall back on Al Williamson's thing of, if I invent a cure for cancer, we can call me a genius. In the meantime, let's just say that I'm a really good comic book artist. But most of the books, most of the Strange Death of Alex Raymond books, I think are just being bought by people who go, okay, I've heard a lot about this, so I should probably get a copy. But it just goes in their pile of stuff that they've bought, you know, comics, graphic novels that they've bought, that they're really looking forward to reading at some point, but they never quite get around to that because they spend all of their time updating their Facebook page and following stuff on Twitter and whatever else. It's just a 21st century thing. So it's
well, there's a number of people that have come out of, they bought the book, they read the book, and everybody says it's fascinating, even the people that go, but Dave's completely wrong. Like Eric Larson takes issue with the page where you say that that it's ridiculous to think that Alex Raymond would have pressed the wrong pedal, and Eric Larson was going, no, he went and found a study from Britain that I think it was from Britain, where they proved that, a majority of accidents are somebody panics and the pedals are too small and close together, and that's why there's accidents. And specifically, I believe he found one that had something about the Corvette, the early Corvette. And it was, and him and Shannon Wheeler were talking about it on Twitter or else Facebook going back and forth. And Oliver found it, so went to Oliver's column, and Oliver's like, I don't know if we want to put this in there. And Sean and Carson and I were like, no, we're putting this in there. Like, actual discussion of a plot point of the book by people in the industry who are known in the industry is always going to be a good advertisement for the book of, if you want to know what they're talking about, here's how you get the book. And
right.
And it's one of those, like I said, everybody thinks it's fascinating. My biggest problem is I read the complete Carson version, and then my friend lent me the 4th volume of Rip Kirby, and I started reading it, and all I can see is horizontal thick lines.
All you can see is what?
The horizontal stripes from, sharpening his brush in the strip. Right. And it's one of those, it goes back to the service line of once a thing is seen, it can't be unseen. Like, I'm trying to read the story, I'm trying to get into it, I'm trying to get some enjoyment, and I was like, nope. Like, because it really works. It works out where there's 1 or 2 panels of the horizontal lines, and then, like, 2 or 3 strips where, okay, it's just fine brushwork, and then back to horizontal line. And I'm like, you did crack that code, and it's one of those fascinating things that once you know it, you'll look at Alex Raymond's work. I kind of want to go back to my Flash Gordons and see, hey, are there a bunch of stripes every 2 weeks?
Right. My larger point is that there's not a large enough audience for me to go, well, if I've got another 100 pages, I really have to get it out to everyone. Sean has agreed to remaster the mock-ups, which that's going to be a task and a half, because it's like, well, are you going to straighten all the stuff that's supposed to be right angles and isn't right angles? What font were you using for this block of text here? It's like, I don't know. I'm just trying to get it done. I'm not trying to figure out how to preserve something that I did 30 years ago. I'm trying to just get this done. After I'm dead, whoever wants to deal with all of that stuff is welcome to deal with that stuff. And if we did that, if Sean remastered all of it and went and got the photos that I'm getting by fax from Benjamin Hobbs and went, okay, I will sharpen this and then replace it where it is on this page and figure out all the reductions and enlargements and whatnot. And then we get that all done, and we do a 100-page book of Strange Death of Alex Volume 3, and it sells like 9 copies, because everybody who read Carson's version, it's like, well, that's enough for me. And it's like, I really don't have any confidence in there ever being a large enough constituency of people who go, no, if it's the next thing Dave Simmons done, I've got to read it, and I've got to have it, win, lose, or draw. It's like, I'm just not in that category, which is, why it's, if I did do something, it would be probably Cerebus Archive style portfolios, but instead of 10 pages, we print on both sides, so you would get 20 pages of Strange Death of Alex Raymond. But even there, it's like, for Cerebus Archive, we're down to 140 people who will buy those. I don't want to take time away from doing Strange Death of Alex Raymond in order to produce 9 portfolios for the only 9 Strange Death of Alex Raymond fans who, are vastly outnumbered by the people who go, okay, we have to tear this to shreds because this is Dave Sim. We absolutely can't have Dave Sim being approved of on anything. So it's for Jim Rugg and the other 8 people that think it's a work of genius, I wish there was some way for me to get it to you. If any of those people are indescribably wealthy and you want to give me, $8,000 to just do a quick and dirty 100 pages for you, and get them printed at Studio Comics Press, and then done at a local bookbinder, as I did with my Boston patron, with Cerebus remastered pages that haven't come out in the portfolio. It's like, yeah, I can do that, but that doesn't get done on its own, and you end up using up whole days. That I'm 65 years old. I just want to get Strange Death of Alex Raymond done. Okay, moving on to MJ Sewall. Hey, Dave and Matt. Sorry to hear you are ill. Feel better. I will take that as a direct order. The Moment of Cerebus site mentions on Saturday, 19 November 2011, from Cerebus TV, it also hints a book about to be published called Dave Sim's Last Girlfriend by Dave Sim and Susan Alston, Simon & Schuster, 1699. Goodreads lists this book with a cover photo of Dave and Susan kissing in a sunset. And another cover I found is a badly drawn cartoon of Dave spanking Susan as she is bent over his lap, ankles tied, listed as first published August 7th, 2012, 160 pages. Then says lower down that it was published on April 26, 2016 by Boom Studios. It is only listed on odd foreign sites and not available to buy anywhere. Question, does this exist, or is it just an elaborate, goofy hoax? I'm not the person to ask about it because it's not my book. Going through the block of text that you have here. And before I do that, I should say that I remember being in a bar on Queen Street. I think it was the bar at the Sheraton. I used to stay at the Sheraton across from City Hall. And I was in the bar with Chester Brown and Joe Mann. And the subject came up of I Have to Live with This Guy, which was a book that Two Morrows did that was about the wives of cartoonists talking about those cartoonists. They weren't all cartoonists. Stan Lee's wife did the section, as I recall. But I had the unhappy distinction of being the only ex-husband in I Have to Live with This Guy, which kind of refuted the title. It's like, no, you didn't have to live with this guy. As a matter of fact, you left. But Joe Matt, who is, just this absolute vulture for gossip, is going, well, you're going to buy it, aren't you? And it's like, no. And he goes, you're not going to buy it? How can you not buy it? She, there's this whole section on her living with you, and you have to know what it says. Don't you have to know what it says? It's like, no, I don't have to know what it says. It was, and I hadn't really had to explain it before. Like, I saw the ad for the book and went, oh, great. Another nail in Dave Sim's coffin, but there's plenty of room. Everybody grab your hammer, grab your nail. And I went, it's ungentlemanly and unchivalrous to dispute a woman's version of events. And if I read it, I would go, okay, well, I have to correct some of this because this is going to get read into the historical record, and then it's carved in stone. Then he said that this happened. Then he said that he said this. Therefore, that's what happened. That's what he said. Well, that's the downside of being a serial adulterer, serial philanderer. Even having a civil wedding service at City Hall instead of in a church. It's okay. This is what's going to happen to you. Is coupled with your chivalrous impulse, a whole different version of you from certainly how you perceive yourself and certainly what you would think of as objective reality is going to exist, and you'll just have to accept that. So with my book with Susan, which that's another one of those. I wouldn't call this by Dave Sim and Susan Alston. It was our faxes back and forth. Most of my communication with Susan was by fax or by phone because she lived in Northampton and I lived in Kitchener. So there was long stretches at least of 3 weeks or 4 weeks where we wouldn't see each other. So this is at least a historical record in that sense that, yes, these are the faxes that I wrote. These are the faxes that she wrote. Everybody can make their own assessment about them. Goodreads lists this book with a cover photo of Dave and Susan kissing in a sunset. Yes, that was on Martha's Vineyard, actually. We vacationed with two other couples in a very, very nice, not at the beach house, but on Martha Vineyard's house, right next to Carly Simon's mansion. It was about a 2-minute walk away. And it's like, man, oh man, I don't remember Carly Simon having too many hits, but if it pays for a chateau like that, good on Carly Simon. And kissing in a sunset. Another cover I found is one of the days, or 2 of the days that we were at the beach on Martha's Vineyard, we were joined by April, Kevin Eastman's ex-wife. And I will always remember April's quote was, and there's no way that I can clean this one up, revenge is a bitch and I am a motherfucker. So that's when I see that picture of Dave and Susan kissing in a sunset, those are the two most prominent and distinctive memories of that vacation. Well, I should qualify that because Hurricane Edward also came bearing down on us, and never had that experience before, being at a house near the beach and watching television telling us where Hurricane Edward is now, and it looks like it's probably going to touch down on Martha's Vineyard. And it did, but it really just stripped the beach away. The beautiful white beach that we had been sitting on was just there was no sand anymore, just land dropping off to nothing. But it was really just a severe thunderstorm where we were as we experienced it. So I've actually got a T-shirt that says Labor Day weekend, 1996, Martha's Vineyard, Hurricane Edward, just a deep. let's see, another cover I found is a badly drawn cartoon of Dave spanking Susan as she is bent over his lap, ankles tied. No, her ankles weren't tied. I just had them, drew them together. It was a cartoon that I did for Susan that she used to have on her fridge. So a good conversation piece, I guess, for anybody coming to visit Susan in her kitchen. So that's the book where, again, I'm not going to dispute anything that Susan says about the relationship. I don't know if it's just the faxes, in which case there's really nothing to dispute. This is what you wrote, Dave, and this is what she wrote back. If she did or is doing commentary in between, that's another thing. So I think it's one of those, she would probably be well served trying to do this through a moment of Cerebus, so that, the however many of the 142 people who buy my stuff would be interested in this. She could sell 80 or 90 copies on a print-on-demand thing. I think it's probably one of those, she has completely moved on at this point from where she was in 2011. We broke up in 1998. So I have no idea if any copies of it exist. Like you say in quotation marks, it's been coming soon for a decade now. So it's one of those, I think everybody's in the same situation of how do we even theoretically make money off of this? I was contacted by Dennis Kitchen, who I think was repping the book for Susan, and he wanted to know if they had the permission to print my faxes. And same as everything else, it's like, no, you don't need permission. If you think that you need a Dave Sim raw material in your creative work or biographical work, you're the better judge of that. But I did say to Dennis, I think the problem you have is you would have to explain, first of all, who Dave Sim is. And I've been obliterated by the feminists. I was one of the first cancel guys. So it's very, very difficult when you completely cancel somebody's entire existence to then try and sell a book called Dave Sim's Last Girlfriend. Well, who the hell is Dave Sim? And why should I care? And why should I care that this was his last girlfriend? So there, that's as interesting as I could be on that one. And moving on.
Before we move on,
I know you weren't going to let me get away all clean on that one. Go ahead.
Well, I remember I think it was somewhere in Form and Void, the individual issues, where you got the letter from Blake Bell saying, I'm doing a book about, comic book creators and their significant others, and would you like to participate? And your response was pretty much, I'm the guy that proves that you don't have to live with the guy. Are you sure you want to do this? I can't remember what issue it was, but I remember it was the inside front cover, and then, years later, I was at the Half Price bookstore, and I found a copy of I Have to Live with This Guy, and it was like $5, and I'm like, well, it's a train wreck, but it's not my train wreck, so let's we'll buy a copy, we'll see how bad this is. And and the book itself is really, really interesting as far as, you get John Romita's wife talking about, being with John Romita, and John Romita being John Romita. I think Ross Kirby was interviewed for it, and it was one of those, where if you like comics and the history of comics, yeah, there's something there for you. But there's also this section where it's, hey, this is the woman that used to be married to a guy that she's not married to anymore.
Right. It's one of these is not like the other.
And as far as Joe Matt's thing of, well, you're going to buy a copy, the best answer would have been of, hey, once you survive the plane wreck, you don't go back to see the instrument panel.
Yeah, and it's I don't really remember my personal relationships with any kind of vividness, because it was everything that I had to focus on intently. Getting service to work and doing the individual component parts of it. That's what the relationship was for, was to get away from that and just I have vivid recollections, but they're vivid snapshot recollections. Most of the time it was just, it was really nice to have a girlfriend. But this was pre-Bible, and this is no way to live. This is, you really shouldn't be doing this. I remember being on Susan's sun porch and smoking, because that was where I smoked, and thinking, this is only here temporarily, so don't get too used to this. And that was always the situation that I was in my relationships. And it's like, well, don't do that. From the moment that I figured out I'm not a husband, that should have been it. And I've said this before in this forum and elsewhere, that I should have made the decision in 1983. Well, it's not a matter of the marriage to Denny was a train wreck. It's just I was married for almost 5 years, and figured out no, structurally marriage is not for me. It's not a matter of I need to find somebody that I'm more compatible with. No, I'm a loner, and a loner creative guy is probably the worst choice for boyfriend or husband or any woman. And that I did, when I figured that out in 1998, that was the complete break. And my my relationships with women now really amount to, could I have that half decaf and half regular, and with milk and sweetener, thank you. And apart from that, just female neighbors, sticking to Henry Higgins' mother's advice to him, because he was completely unsocializable in My Fair Lady. Restrict your conversation to the weather and your health. So that's what I tend to do, and that's the most successful female relationships that I have. I do remember I did buy Adele Mailer. Adele Morales was her maiden name. Norman Mailer's ex-wife. I think it was his second wife. And she wrote a tell-all autobiography. And I bought it. And I forget what the situation was, but it was right there. It was pretty expensive, but it's like, okay, well, I haven't got any new Norman Mailer books, so I will read Adele Mailer's book about Norman Mailer. And I remember hitting the section where they're in their Brooklyn Heights apartment and entertaining Edmund Wilson, who was towering American literary critic of the 20th century. He knew F. Scott Fitzgerald I actually printed a long chunk from him doing a parody of that Scott Fitzgerald, which is just deadly accurate. And here it is, the setup. Edmund Wilson was coming over for dinner, and I'm going, what did Edmund Wilson and Norman Mailer have to say to each other? And all she remembered was partway through the meal, Edmund Wilson got a piece of spinach stuck in his teeth, and it was really gross. And it really put her off her own dinner. And I went, Dave, it serves you right. You just paid whatever it was, like $40 for this book, and this is what you're going to get out of it. Don't buy a book by one of Norman Mailer's ex-wives to find out anything significant about Norman Mailer. So now we're done with that subject.
Yes, we are.
All righty.